Sup. That's how you do it, right? Beach Bomb over here making some biscuits and gravy this morning. It's going to be delicious. Occasionally. I already got all the ingredients out because that's like the hardest thing is like finding everything. Like everybody's like talking about like salvaging and foraging and all that stuff in the woods. I'm like, man, I can't even find things in my fridge. How do you go find a deer in the middle of the fucking woods? Makes zero sense. The way I always do it though, you know, after you wash your hands. Apparently that's a common thing nowadays. Apparently you have to wash your hands nowadays. I didn't know that wasn't not a thing, so it's very confusing. I had butter. Butter's great. Butter's awesome. Butter makes you fat. Get a couple of them salts, get a couple of them meats. I'll generally turn these down to a pretty low simmer because I like the seasoning to mix into the meat really well. Put one of these spoons in both of these. I'm actually making two different kinds because my dad is really weird about his. He's like, oh, it has to be spicy. But then my wife, she loves the sweet. So I'm actually going to be making two different styles of biscuits and gravy this morning. One of them will actually have brown sugar in it. And the other one will be a traditional, I'll use a little bit of cayenne to spice it up a bit. Then I got these here Pillsbury, these things, because I don't like making biscuits because I don't have time for that. Biscuits take a long time. You can make your own homestay style biscuits, like that's perfectly fine too. But I use the easy ones. This says to cook it to, what, it says 350. I don't do that. I put it at 395, and I'll preheat that oven up to that. And I'll actually only put these in the oven for about 15 minutes. They get a little bit of golden brown on the top, but they're still really soft and plush on the inside. That's generally why I cook it like that. You can cook them however you want though, because I'm not eating your biscuits. Unless you invite me over, in which case I might. You can hear that butter starting to boil up a little bit. And I got two different Jimmy Dean sausage too. And like I said, I'm making two different ones. I got the regular and I got the hot. So the hot's already going to be slightly spicy. So I got to go a little light on that on the one that I'm actually making. That's supposed to be sweeter, right? The idea with this is to mix the butter into all of it, and what you're really going to want to do is get a little bit of that salt and pepper mixed into the initial portion, and for the sweet one, I put the brown sugar into the initial part, while the meat's still raw. Mixes in a little bit better. One of the things that you should be mindful of when you do this is go ahead and check to make sure that you have milk. Because there have been a few days, luckily we live pretty close to grocery stores, but there have been a few days I started this and didn't realize I don't have any milk in the fridge. And milk's pretty paramount for making your own gravy. So, you want to be really generous with the pepper. And I'll show you in a little bit. You'll actually add more pepper after you finish browning the meat and everything, and you actually add the gravy mix, because you want the pepper to kind of mix through the entire gravy as well, not just be on the meat. I'll actually add a little bit of cayenne here. And that's what's going to make this one have a little bit more of a kick. I mean, you could actually see that butter mixes kind of in there. So, definitely something that keep in mind. And then what I have here is flour and then brown sugar, which I add a fairly generous amount of brown sugar. My sister also really enjoys that. Comes over every day and she gets really irritated because Wednesday's biscuits and gravy day. Like, if there's no biscuits and gravy on Wednesday, she gets really irritated about that. My nephew Jojo, he comes in and he eats the biscuits, yeah. I'll generally simmer this for quite a bit too. Get a little bit of time in between mixing and kind of do your biscuits and get them ready as soon as the oven comes up to temperature. Now generally it's a good idea, which I didn't do, is you go ahead and preheat the oven before you start the biscuit mix. I actually got two different kinds of biscuits. These are the butter tasting ones. It's got like little pieces of butter mixed into it. And then I've got the Hawaiian sweet rolls, which are really good too, especially with that sweeter gravy that I'm going to be making here. This will start browning here in a minute. Looks like my little pan's going to go a little bit faster, so we might be able to see what I'm going to be doing here in a minute. This one. Add in a little bit more salt. Like I said, this one's going to be a little bit more spicy, so you'll see me adding quite a bit more pepper to this after I make the gravy too. Don't be afraid to be a little rough with your meat in the morning, you know. If you need to break it up and smack it around a little bit, work it out, you know. And so both of these, you can tell, and what I'll actually do is I'll take these out and I'll rinse them off because sometimes they got a little bit of raw meat that clings to the top. Just because I'm using wooden strings here. Anything that falls into it generally will cook all the way through, but maybe I'm just a little bit paranoid. And you'll actually see. And right here, so got this first one. See how that butter, you see the browning. pretty much browned all the way through. So what I'm going to do is actually turn this down quite a bit more. I'm going to simmer it. And this is where things get interesting because I'm going to add some flour to this guy. I use a measuring cup. I don't normally measure just because the flour is pretty full. We just got some more flour in. I don't want to be spilling that all over the place by trying to splash it in there. You want to add a pretty generous amount because when you mix it, you'll see it'll thicken up. It'll look like something you put in hamburger helper. You want to make sure that that flour is mixed in there really good. And that's what it looks like. And then the next step is going to be grabbing this next one. And the next step is going to be to add your milk. You can make this thicker, you can make this recipe like very liquidy if you prefer more of like a liquid gravy. But it's just like one of those things. Generous amount of milk to start off. You want to go pretty quick with those two steps because if you don't, it's very easy for you to burn the meat and flour and everything. So you want to make sure that'll mix in really well. As you can see, it's starting to get that white color. At this point, you want to basically, like, I don't know if you saw, I turned both of the stovetops to a very low temperature because basically going to simmer it until it reaches that thickness and consistency that I want. You see, that's actually pretty decent right there. And then we're just going to be adding a little bit of pepper here and there. And that's what I was saying is you never, like especially if you're doing this really spicy, if you really like spicy in the morning, like with this one will probably have a little bit more of a kick. You want to keep adding that until you start seeing those brown flakes mixed into the actual gravy itself. So. And again, this one I'm making a little bit spicier. It's going to be have a nice little kick to it. So go and enjoy that. This recipe normally doesn't take too long if you try and do this in the morning. Like I generally probably take about 30 minutes, you know, salvaging and dragging my butt into the fridge looking for everything, and it's so difficult. So much trouble. And this is my favorite part because you kind of just, you know, wait it out. Stir every couple of minutes until you get those consistencies that you want. You might pick up some stuff, do your dishes, you know, whatever you feel like doing. But then again, you could also just kick back and relax for a second and grab some ice. You know, the usual things that people do. Just enjoy yourself a morning beverage if you like. But I mean, that's entirely up to you. You want to be productive with your morning, or you want to, you know, take it easy. That's all up to you. Just don't forget about the food. Nobody likes burning gravy. That just makes it really bad. Then your relatives come over and they're like, "What's that?" You pull it out. It looks like a black block. You could probably knock someone out with it. It's a good home defense weapon, but it's not going to make for really good food. So don't forget the soda's on. really like that meme. What was that meme? It's like how I adulted today. I woke up and turned the wrong burner on and boiled nothing for like 30 minutes. Like sometimes mornings are like that. So. And as you see, like there's two different styles right here. I've got this one right here. You see how that one's a little bit more gravy and less thick, and that's probably how a lot of places will make it if you get from like a store or something like that, like a restaurant. And then this one's got really thick, very meaty, and that's generally how I do that because I like the flavor, so it's got a little bit more going on there. Yeah. So. Then what we're going to do is just leave it like this because this is about done for the gravy. I'm going to wait for temperature to come up and we'll put those biscuits in the oven here in a minute, which we're almost there. I'm going to actually probably put those in right now. It's at 370. It'll coast up a bit, so I'll probably put in for about 17 minutes. Seems a little reasonable. And I'll see you guys again in 17 minutes. And so, we are up to temperature on the biscuits. We're looking pretty good on the gravy though. Because we got these ones right here, which is looking pretty great. I mean, you see the thicker consistency. So you remember how it was a little bit more runny? That's about where you want to be for your gravy. If you make it how I like it. Like, I like it to be able to be like picked up. You can put this in between the biscuits and make a sandwich. I've seen several people do that. And then you see this one's a little bit thicker too. And the consistency of meat, like that's why I think you don't get in restaurants. Like a lot of places will be heavy on the gravy and they've got really white gravy. But the consistency of the meat, like I don't know about you, but I need some sustenance in my food in the morning. And that meat is delicious. All right, we're about 30 seconds off, and I've got an extra helper in the room, but she is not going to be my taste tester. Get out of the kitchen. Go on. Go on.
She wanted to be in your video.
She's definitely not.
Did you want to?
No, but I do have a taste tester, but I don't know if she wants to taste test because she keeps like going back and forth. Do you want to try both of these?
I don't want to talk to you.
Okay, all right. So I got blacklisted in my marriage already. It's been like a week. But
it's been like 2 weeks, or no,
a little bit longer than that.
It's
all right, there we go.
Like
there's an alarm. That's great.
3 weeks actually, because next week it'll be a month.
So why don't you get one of them spoon things and we'll.
We're already almost gonna be married for a month.
That is wonderful. I made it through a month, guys. That's impressive.
No, it has not been a month yet, and you're already.
Don't tell them. Thin ice. Thin ice.
You're already going on my shit list.
Tread lightly.
I have a spoon so that I can taste things.
Okay. All right. Again, $3.95 for only 15 minutes, and you get this nice crisp outside. These things look great. All right, so what we're going to have you do is try the spicy one because you're going to finish on the sweet one. That way, you know, it's not so terrible. So whenever you're ready. It's going to be a little hot, so you might want to blow it a bit. Does it meet satisfaction levels? Is that one spicier? Is that one spicier?
What's that?
Oh, it's water. Very questionable in this household. You guys sniff your drinks before you actually take a sip or anything. It's very dangerous.
I'm just curious as to why it's bubbly.
Carbonation, I think that's what they call that.
That is not water.
So is that what's spicy? Is it still good?
I don't like that one at all.
Is it because it's spicy?
I don't like it.
Okay, alright. That's the sweet one. It's got that brown sugar in it. It's a pretty good mix. Hey, one bite. Might have to like boil that now and sterilize it. Double dipping.
I already double dipped.
Alright. So now the last step will be to toss these little guys on one of these wonderful plates. And generally she likes the sweet Hawaiian. Do you want this one in half? So you can like break these things in half. Okay, we're going with both. And so going with this one. These ones are a little harder to use, so what I'm going to grab is one of these scoop ones. These ones are great. You can just scoop up a big helping of it. Just pour it right over the top. And so there you go. Biscuits and gravy. Southern breakfast.
I have my breakfast.